చాలా అద్భుతంగా ఉంది. వదిలేస్తే మొత్తం తినేస్తాను, నా సరదా తీరేంత వరకు కొంచెం ఇంకొక తిని వదులుతాను. కానీ చాలా బాగుంది. కానీ ఎంత తిక్కుగా ఉంది మీ ఇక్కడ. సో నైస్.
Why is India embracing Taliban? Let me first tell you, is India really embracing Taliban? It looks quite odd. Taliban is a repository of hardcore Islamic fundamentalism, known for their medieval practices and highly repressive Islamic order in Afghanistan. No freedom for women. Women are barred from schools, colleges, jobs. So we know what kind of Taliban regime is there in Afghanistan. And not only that, the Taliban Islamic fundamentalist or Islamic extremist have a nexus with the Pak-based extremist groups too. But still, why is India embracing Taliban? Before I answer this question, let me tell you, is India really embracing Taliban? Well, officially, India has not yet recognized Taliban regime in Afghanistan, but it is in the process of doing so. Why I'm telling is, recently our Foreign Minister Jaishankar spoke to the acting Foreign Minister of Afghanistan. Our Foreign Secretary met the Foreign Minister of Afghanistan in an Arab capital. And more recently, India abstained on a resolution condemning Taliban and calling upon Taliban to respect human rights, respect women's rights. Quite surprising. India stands for democracy, human rights, empowerment of women, but we have abstained from voting at United Nations asking Taliban to respect human rights, to respect women's rights, to respect human freedoms. So surprisingly, Indian stand is contrary to the stand of the majority of nations on the earth. 116 countries supported this resolution, urging Taliban to do away with the repressive policies. More surprisingly, United States and Israel voted against the resolution, which means they supported Taliban. So Israel, the self-professed custodian of the world against from Islamic fundamentalism, a very big hostile nation to Islamic countries, votes in favor of Taliban at United Nations. United States, which saw the unbelievable devastation due to the Taliban-inspired Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, they all belong to the same kind of character. Well, Bin Laden has emerged out of the Afghanistan. Well, despite that, America has waged a war on Taliban, and they have ruled the country through its proxy for 20 years. And the same United States votes in favor of Afghanistan, favor of Taliban-led Afghanistan at United Nations. 12 countries abstained on this resolution condemning Taliban, and India is among them. So a BJP regime, an Hindutva regime, voting indirectly in favor of an Islamic radical Taliban. How do we juxtapose these two things? How do we reconcile this fact? A hardcore Hindutva regime led by Narendra Modi supporting or rather indirectly favoring a rabid reactionary Islamic radical regime called Taliban. Well, that's how geopolitics operate. Should we think like that? There are certainly a couple of reasons why Modi's India is embracing Taliban. I'll tell you the strategic risk associated with such a policy. Let me first tell you the official explanation for this rather unusual behavior of India. Well, at the United Nations, India's permanent representative said, punitive action does not solve the problem. We have to come out with an innovative approach. Nobody knows what is that innovative approach. So new policy instruments have to be employed. So we are abstaining because new policy instruments are not employed, only punitive action is called for. So therefore we are abstaining. That is the official position. So the unofficial explanation given by the government circles is, it's a fact that Taliban is ruling Afghanistan. Unlike its first term, when it came to power a couple of decades ago, Taliban was not controlling entire Afghanistan. Still there was a resistance by Northern Alliance forces in some parts of Afghanistan. Today that's not the situation. Afghanistan is totally under the Taliban control. So India has a commitment to the people of Afghanistan. Before Taliban re-emerged, also India was supplying food, medicines and other essentials to the people of Afghanistan. People of India and people of Afghanistan have historical cultural relations right from the days of freedom struggle. So if we have to provide humanitarian aid to Afghanistan, we have no option except to deal with the regime in Kabul, which is led by Taliban. So this is a bureaucratic explanation, but this is not the true explanation. The reality lies in geopolitics. What are the geopolitics? Number one, the most important aspect of this geopolitics is the relationship between Pakistan and Taliban. Everybody knows Taliban at the creation of Pakistan. Even when Pakistan was drawn into a US-led war on Taliban, Pakistan was playing a diabolical game, dual role. On one hand, it was pretending to be the frontline ally of US in its war on Taliban, led Afghanistan. On the other hand, Pakistan was a breeding ground for Taliban-like elements. In fact, they were training Taliban, they were funding Taliban, they were actually providing shelter for Taliban. So Pakistan helped in the regrouping of Taliban. And finally, when Taliban came to power in Kabul, with the United States withdrawing, with Trump arriving at a dubious agreement with Taliban, when American forces withdrew after 20 years, leaving the people of Afghanistan in a helpless situation, it was a Pakistan which was jubilant. So, but what happened later? There were certain hostile developments occurred. The first thing was on the Durand line. This is the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan running into hundreds of kilometers. Pakistan wants Durand line to be the border between the two countries on the off-Pak border. Taliban doesn't want it, precisely because the Talibans are led by a tribe called Pashtuns, and Pashtuns live on the either side of the Durand line. So the Pashtuns do not want their people and land to be divided. The second and the most important bone of contention between Pakistan and the Taliban is on the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. Pakistan calls it a Taliban proxy. Taliban says, we have nothing to do with the TTP, it's a Pakistan's own creation. But the fact remains, the name itself suggests that TTP is inspired by the Taliban. So Tehrik-e-Taliban has been conducting terrorist attacks in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. Pakistan is already facing similar lethal attacks from the Baluch Liberation Army, BLA, in the Baluchistan, the largest province of Pakistan. So Pakistan feels that the Taliban is encouraging TTP. More recently, Pakistan has even crossed the border and hit the targets, so-called targets of TTP, right inside Taliban. Taliban strongly condemned it. So given this kind of Taliban-Pakistan hostilities, the regime in Afghanistan started favoring India, surprisingly. So when during the Operation Sindhu, Pakistan circulated a fake news that India has conducted a missile attack on Afghanistan. The Pakistan's conspiratorial game was to draw Taliban into the war against India. But Taliban swiftly denied the alleged Indian missile attack on Afghanistan, much to the discomfiture of Pakistan. Similarly, Taliban condemned the Pahalgam Act, called it an act of terror. So Taliban has even blamed Pakistan for the Pahalgam attacks. What does India want more? Well, obviously the Taliban statements, for whatever the reasons may be, is certainly the music for Indian ears. So this change in geopolitics is the reason for India started embracing Taliban. Well, there is also a great power game. United States, which is the victim of Taliban attack, is now favoring Taliban, directly voted against the resolution condemning Taliban. So the United States is trying to preserve its influence in Taliban, because it is deeply worried that China and Russia are filling the vacuum left vacant by United States after the US withdrew its troops. So Russia is the first nation to recognize Taliban. Recently Russia has recognized Taliban. China is maintaining a close link with Taliban. Afghanistan has rare earth minerals which China is interested in. So given this great power game on a soil which is so close to Indian border geographically and so critical strategically, can India remain a passive spectator? So this is the geopolitical context under which India is moving closer towards Taliban. But strategic experts have a point of caution here. They say that all said and done, whatever may be the geopolitical factors, Taliban remains an Islamic fundamentalist force. It is a jihadi force. Today it may have a different kind of relationship with Pakistan, but can Hindu majority India have friendship with a radical Islamic outfit called Taliban? Because Taliban has publicly threatened India a number of times. So there may be hostilities between the Islamic forces, but nobody can deny, nobody can rule out a possible rapprochement between Islamic regime in Taliban and Islamic regime in Islamabad, Islamic regime in Kabul and Islamic regime in Islamabad may come together tomorrow. So this is the strategic risk India should always remember. Of course, there is a moral commitment for India to defend the rights of Afghan people. Quite unfortunately, they are the victims of the great power game that is unfolding in Afghanistan and the geopolitical sphere around it.